back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here with Amy Nelson, and we've been discussing the problems with the BLM, the Bundy Ranch here in Nevada in the general Southwest. And I'm going to back up here for a moment because I think there's something needs to be covered that I haven't really mentioned, and it doesn't really get mentioned much in your everyday talk, and that is that the type of rural people that we are in the West, we're a trusting people. The ranchers and the rural folks are used to, and still many abide by the custom of your word has meaning to it when you promise something, that a handshake actually has meaning to it. So I think one of our problems here in trying to get our land back has been that we've been so trusting, going all the way back to statehood. We're a pioneer type people, even though we have Las Vegas, which is about an hour drive from here, which is a huge metropolis. Still, the basic people, the people that work in the casinos, the locals, when you get away from the Strip, we're a community just like any other community, yet we have a certain amount of trust, and Old West trust, and this is not something that we enjoy when we have dealings with the federal government. It really boils down to something that it's a word, it's ethics. And ethics is, I think a good definition of ethics is the moral principles that actually govern how a person acts in groups and as an individual. That you have principles, your word means something, that you don't lie to somebody, that you don't cheat on an agreement, that if you sign an agreement, that you don't, in your mind while you're signing it, think of how can I renege on this later and get the better of these people. Well, unfortunately, as I've looked into this, and you can see the stack of papers, and this is just a small amount of research I've done, the federal government has not been honest. They've been dishonest with their dealings with Nevada, and they've been dishonest going back into Utah Territory days. That I think we've always been sort of looked at as the ugly stepsister, or the person that dunces out here, those hicks out here in the desert that they could get over on. And one of the things that we have that everybody wants, our state is literally full of minerals, of natural resources. We have gold. We're the largest gold producing state in the Union. We have silver. We have all manners of different types of special metals. And recently, in the past few years, what's been discovered up in the Railroad Valley and is now being explored for all over the state is oil. With the development of shale oil type recovery methods that you hear about in North Dakota, this has brought a very real look here in Nevada, not only for pumping the oil, but for the shale extraction methods as well.
It's called fracking.
It's called fracking.
And that's a danger to our water.
It's a danger to our water, but it's something that in the rural parts, away from people and animals and that,
right,
that we'll probably see fracking. But even if we didn't go to fracking and just use conventional
right,
recovery methods, they have found large deposits up in the Railroad Valley, and who knows, because as they continue to explore, I'm sure there's much more oil out here than they've already discovered and are in the process of getting the permits for and recovering. Now, if you want to control a people, as the government wants to do, the federal government, as we mentioned, they already have 92% of the land mass of Nevada, and which is obscene in its own right. But I mentioned that the President Obama and Biden have, I might add, the agreement of Republican senators and members of Congress who are looking for that they could pin the badge of being green, of being environmentally friendly on the back, came up with this scheme that was called the Lands Legacy Initiative, and it's going to take, and I think I mentioned this, but I'll say it again, revenues that they get from Gulf oil operations, from offshore oil operations, and others, and they're going to take these billions of dollars and they're going to buy up public lands. Mm-hmm. And when I mean public lands, I mean my land, Amy's land. If they happen to zero in on a piece of land that they can acquire and add to even more of their land inventory, this is what these billions of dollars are going to be for. if you consider the mineral values of the land that we have here and the oil values and water, by the way, water being the most precious commodity of all when you're in the area like Nevada, the government controlling those by picking up extra parcels of public land and extra parcels of private land is going to be an immense problem, because if they shut off, for instance, the flow of water, they've controlled the population. They've controlled everything about our lives. If they scounce away with our mineral rights and then tie them up and to decide, well, we're not going to allow any drilling, we're not going to allow any harvesting of the minerals because we have control of those lands now. If they're going to close off the grazing where it puts out an entire industry out of business, then they've really put the thumb on us. Now, why would a government do that?
Yeah.
Why would you think, Amy, that the government would do something like that?
I'm thinking about that as you're talking, and I'm wondering, what is their motive? Why do they want this much land away from us? What kind of control do they want to really be in charge of? What do they want to do with us? I worry about the allocation of water in the future. I worry about the ranchers that raise a lot of our livestock, not just beef. They have chicken and other livestock, goats, and things that the community, does live on. And fresh produce, fresh gardens even, that would eliminate gardens and being able to water produce that you're growing for your own survival. What is their motive? It's so complex that it makes me really concerned.
I think a big motive is a control factor. I think that I'm a firm believer that we have a president that he never told us really what he was, whereas people were warning us what he was. The president of the United States is a socialist, and I know that people are going to say, "Well, Dwight, you're one of those conspiracy theorists again. Now you guys have been complaining about this man all along." But I mentioned earlier in the program about him turning his attention to us and making statements about stop coming to the state and gambling, and
he made it personal.
He made it personal. When Ron Paul, who was a libertarian and a person that this county right here is a Ron Paul county, Nye County, when Ron Paul came to Pahrump to give a speech, more people attended that speech than they ever envisioned. They had to have two speeches. He had to come back in the afternoon later and talk to a whole new crowd because so many showed up. And the Ron Paul element of southern Nevada scared the Republican Party to death. It still scares the Republican Party to death. But for the socialists in our country, the far left wing, which is what the Democrat Party power structure is, it literally frightened them to death. And in a person like President Obama, a person that was trained under the wing of people like Saul Alinsky and his writings, and a person like Obama who was a community organizer, he knows how to disrupt. He knows how to divide. He knows how to take control of a situation. And with the federal government behind him and his BLM and all of these young ecology-minded people I mentioned, it's the perfect storm for us out here, because he sent his stormtroopers in to now take on the Bundys. And when that blew up in their face and they found that people here are armed, we have people in Nevada and the Southwest believe in guns, not to go out and do anything but other than to protect themselves, their property, their way of life, and because they have a right under the Second Amendment to have the gun. This scares a person that wants to control and wants to lead people into dependency. And we're a state that is against dependency. We want people to stand on their own 2 feet. We'll help our neighbors, but we expect you to stand on your own 2 feet here. And it just flies in the face of everything Obama believes in. When Saul Alinsky came out with a book that was devoted to radicals, I'm going to get into that in a moment here, because there's quite a few points I want to tie in with the Obama and his land legacy and the Bundy situation and the BLM situation, and I'll go over that in some more detail. And I'm not going to pretend to be able to cover all this subject matter in one program. We're going to give a broad stroke here, and in later programs I'll try to zero in on individual issues. And we'll be right back in a moment.